Hello again, I'm Colton with the Springfield Christians. Today we will be talking about Philippians chapter 2, verses 14 through 18. In this section of text, Paul begins to expound on how this church can grow and how we can grow in unity and humility. I can't begin to tell you how much it struck me this last time I read verse 14. Do all things without grumbling or disputing. All things. In today's culture, we can hardly check our Facebook news feed without complaining about something. And so we get irritated and grumble and complain and argue about one of two categories. Either one, things that don't really matter, or two, things that we can't do much of anything about. We get irritated about so much. So we argue about who's going to do the dishes. We complain about who is or isn't in office. But if we can attain to the level of unity and humility, especially in the church, that Paul calls for here, then in that case, we will be, as Paul says in verse 15, prove ourselves to be blameless, innocent, above reproach, and as lights in the world. Leave the complaints to the rest of the world. Paul calls this world a crooked and perverse generation. We don't need to be a part of that. We need to be lights in the world, showing that we don't grumble or complain about anything as the rest of the world does. The Christian has an attitude of humility, that they're not going to let the things of this world bother them. And so Paul, he says that we need to hold on to the words of life so that whenever that day of Christ comes, not only Paul, but all of us can have confidence in that day to come. Because we know we didn't let the things of this world bother us. As we sometimes even sing, "This world is not my home. I'm just passing through." And so, again, Paul emphasizes this point. Humility is what we ought to strive for. Paul does that by saying that even if he were to die in the service of others, that humility would be a cause of true and abiding joy. Let's gain that joy even in our hearts. We are Springfield Christians. God bless you this day as we try to be humble before our God.